Minor mistakes can be found in every animated show, including our favorite show Bluey. Some of these mistakes are extremely difficult to find, but we managed to find them somehow. Like, the mistake with this scene is that there are crumbs on that plate. However, in the next shot, we see that the crumbs disappear. This is an animation error. Those 3 crumbs should have been animated in this scene. We don't say this to mock the animators. In fact, we love animation errors. We love the animators. They're doing a phenomenal job, even with the errors. The reason that this happens is because this is just a split second. No one can even notice this. Okay, enough talk. Let's move on to the next animation error. Now, this one's up for debate, but look at Chili. We see that Chili's legs and tail are completely visible through the floatable. And you might say that this isn't a mistake, and the floatable is transparent. But the issue is, the upper part of her body isn't visible. Only her legs and tail are visible. In the episode Seesaw, where we follow Bluey's attempt to defeat Bandit, who is heavier than all of them, and sits on the seesaw to tease them. When Bingo and Bluey realize they need help to defeat Bandit, they call their friends to sit on the seesaw. One of their friends is Coco. When Bluey calls Coco, you can clearly see that she has a pair of eyelashes in her eyes. The problem is that when they call Pom Pom to help, and we look back at Coco, she no longer has eyelashes. They simply disappeared. Do you know that Bluey is a magician? If you don't believe me, then look at this scene, because Bluey just phases through the chair. Take a look when we slow it down for you. Her eye just vanishes like a magician. I don't know what kind of magic this is, but Bluey just went straight through the chair. She simply phased through the chair. Now, this mistake can be found in the episode The Beach. The mistake here is actually the sunscreen on Bluey's face. Look at it. It's clipping through the eyes, the nose. If we slow down the scene and look at the sunscreen applied on her face, we can see that it is clipping through her eyes and nose. And talking about the episode The Beach, where we see the Healer family enjoying their day on the beach. Everyone is enjoying themselves and playing on the beach, and even Bandit is building a sandcastle while Bingo is burying Bluey in the sand and making a mermaid tail on her legs. It's at this moment that a small animation flaw occurs when Bluey leans backward. We have a top-down view of the 2 Healer girls, and you can notice that their eyebrows are blue. The problem is that in this episode, Bluey had her eyebrows painted yellow, probably because of the sunscreen that Chili applied to the girls. In the same episode, when Bluey is exploring the beach by herself, she meets a pelican, and when we zoom into the pelican, we see an animation error. If you look at the pelican's eyes, we see Bluey with her mouth open. And you may ask, why is that an error? Well look, now it's closed. That's not normal. That's a mistake. This is a continuity error. Maybe it's not the visuals, but this is a continuity error. The mouth is open, you go to the next scene, mouth is closed. Now we have another case of a mysterious disappearance. In the episode Tickle Crabs, Bluey and Bingo are playing a fun game with Bandit. The girls pretend to be crabs tickling and chase Bandit into the kitchen, where he climbs onto a counter to escape the fake crabs and grabs fruit from a basket to throw at them. And at that very moment, we can clearly see that one of the fruits from the basket, probably an orange, simply disappears out of nowhere. So, for this animation error, it has to do with Chili. Look at her eyes. There is a mistake, and you know what it is. I mean, that just looks freaky and uncanny. I feel like I'm watching a horror movie right now. Her eye just does this weird glitch out. I thought it was a smear frame at first, but it really isn't a smear frame. You don't even see multiple eyes. Some errors are so quick that we can barely see them properly, like this next one we noticed in one of the episodes. In the episode, Hotel, Bingo, and Bandit are playing a fun game. And during their play, something very weird can be seen, or should I say it cannot be seen. Because if you look at Bandit while he was spinning on the bed, his tail simply disappears. Where is his tail? It's supposed to be right there. Can you guys imagine Bandit walking around the house without a tail? Talking about Chili, in this scene, she wipes the sweat off her forehead. However, there is a mistake with the sweat. Let's zoom in really quick. And you can see that the sweat actually clips in front of her arm. That's not how sweat works. Does it? It should have been below, under her arm, not in front. That doesn't make any sense. In the episode The Creek, there's a very quick and hard to notice error with one of the fan favorite characters, McKenzie. When we see McKenzie coming out of the bushes, we notice that his head is completely black furred, when in reality the fur on his head is not completely black. but he has a small white spot right in the middle of his head. It was only a few frames true, but our watchful eyes caught it. In the episode Pirate, there's an interesting detail that you might not catch at first glance. While Bandit is playing with the girls, swinging in a hammock, and pretending to be a pirate ship, there's a strange moment that stands out. If you slow down the scene and watch it in slow motion, you'll notice something rather strange. As Bandit lets the hammock swing, his two ears briefly merge into one, creating a rather unique image of Bandit. It's one of those blink and you'll miss it moments that only attentive viewers can see. One of the most beloved episodes of Bluey is Barnacus and Bumpy, where Bluey and others try to make a movie for Bingo while she's in the hospital. The film unfolds throughout the episode, and in the end, all the superstars involved in the film do the typical thank you that actors do at the end of a play for their audience, and that's when something very strange happens. Muffin, who participates in the play, is wearing a chef's hat because that was her role in the film. In the final scene, we see that the hat falls slightly over her eyes because it's too big, but if you pause at the right moment, you'll see that one of her eyes is covered by the hat, and the other is above it. Now that's a funny error. In the episode Burger Shop, we see Bandit trying to convince the girls to leave the bathtub, but Bluey and Bingo end up convincing Bandit to join and play with them a little longer. When Chili threatens to get into the tub to remove everything from it, something weird happens. Bandit's head changes color. As everyone knows, Bandit is blue just like Bluey, but both of them have a slightly darker shade of blue on their heads, and Bandit's head is entirely blue. But if you pause the scene at the right moment, you'll see that his head quickly changes from half dark to half light blue. That's a weird looking Bandit right there. Moving on, in the episode Feather Wand, where Bingo is playing with magical powers using a feather that makes things super heavy, and then she does it with Bandit's famous yoga ball. Seriously, look at her having so much fun. Hold on, look again. Her snout moves, but her head turns a bit later, creating this weird and funny animation image at the same time. Hardly anyone noticed this little mistake when they watched this episode for the first time. Another small detail we stumbled upon is in the episode Library. In this episode, Muffin visits her cousins, and they're having a great time playing in a library. Bluey shows Muffin the heart-shaped stamp used to mark people's library cards when they borrow and return books. Interestingly, we noticed that this card with a heart-shaped stamp is placed on top of another piece of pink paper. However, right after that, as Bluey is creating a library card for Muffin, we can see a continuity error. The positions of the pink papers have switched, with the paper bearing the heart stamp now under the other paper without a stamp. So, these were some of the animation mistakes in Bluey. What do you think of these mistakes? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And as always, we'll see you all in the next video.